Okay, welcome to this S4HANA video about purchasing supplier evaluation, more specifically the configuration side. I'll be taking you through the parts per million configuration, document categories that you have to select to set this up. Then more specifically, how we set up the delivery indicator, how that's used in this process. Then how we set up the criteria and scores, very important, where you select your reporting currency, number ranges, that's very important, and then the apps and the roles that you need to make this work. Okay, let's start. Let's work through the config. What you'll find the supplier evaluation sets up in materials management purchasing. You go to supplier evaluation, which is in here, and here's all the stuff you have to work through to set this up. Firstly is the parts per million. If you haven't worked with parts per million before, that is actually where you measure the number of rejected or defective materials that you received from a supplier, but per million. So you do a calculation of X number of defectives received divided by the number actually received times a million. It's just an indicator of the supplier performance. So in here you set up whether you're using only your return deliveries or do you want to look at quality notifications as well. In this case, we are only looking at return deliveries. But parts per million is quite a topic on its own that you can look at. Just to quickly jump to the Fiori side to show you, there's actually an app that measures this. There's the parts per million app. There's currently no data populated here, but you can go and look at that to find out more and use it in your procurement department. Then the next step is to look at which document categories you'll use in your evaluation. The options you have is purchase orders, scheduling agreements, and then a combination of both. In this case, we are only looking at purchase orders to do the evaluation. Then the next step is to set up to see how you want to measure your quantity variances. And there's basically two ways of doing this, where you're using complete deliveries, where the delivery indicator is set, and where the delivery indicator is not set. In this case, the system will only look at complete deliveries to see what's the variances between what you ordered and what was actually delivered. In this case, it will look at partial delivered quantities as well. So that's the difference here, or you can select both. In this case, we're selecting both, so the SAP will look at both these settings. Then let's jump into the meat of what you're doing here, the most important bit. Let's look at the criteria that's set up. You will see we've got 6 criteria set up, from inspection, lot, quantity, time, price, and so on, with a weight percentage assigned to each, and all of these are active. Now, if you go to Fiori and you look at how this is set up in this app, supplier evaluation and scoring, you will see that these are listed: inspection, lot, up to quality notification. There's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but there's 3 additional ones set up here. These are user-specific criteria that you can set up, and that is found in a different area in your config. If you go back one and you scroll down to activate user-defined criteria, in here you will see we've got criteria 1 and 2, and then parts per million. That's used in the last 3 rows of this. So this set of criteria is actually then used across the board for all suppliers, all material groups, all activities. Let's summarize this. I've got a slide here. Basically what you see here is then the top section, the first 6, you set up as a standard in this config node. And the last few you can do user-defined specific criteria, which is set up in a different area. But that then will help you to grow your list, and you can add criteria as and when you want to. Let's go on to the next item. If you select one of these, you'll see these active criteria. Let's say you go into quantity, you'll see there's a variance percentage, which we have listed here from a -100 to 100. So that is measured then by the system, your quantity delivered, and there's a variance, and then a score is assigned. So for a 0% variance, there is a score of 100 for that purchase order item. You can go and edit these numbers should you wish to do that in the app. This is also available in the configuration side. If you go back one screen, go back to this node, determine criteria scores. So in here you can set this up as standard. Here's the quantity one. So for a variance of 0%, there's a score of 100, and so on. There's for time, on-time delivery, pricing. So this you can actually go and change, and this config will be populated in your app, in the Fiori app automatically. But you can go, you have the option to go and update these in Fiori. Then let's look at how you set this up by purchasing category, which is the option here. We have discussed purchasing categories in a different video, which is available on my channel, but in this case I just want to select demo 3, the purchasing category. So what you see here is then the criteria that is active for this purchasing category, and there's certain suppliers and certain material groups linked to this category. In this case, quantity is 25%, time is 25%, the price is 50%. These ones, the rest are on zeros. You can go and change these then in here. You can see that these are active. There's a percentage that you can go and change to a 30 and then a 20, and then you save, and it will be updated here. So that's then how you play with the percentages. Okay, moving on to, you have the option here to switch between supplier evaluation by purchasing category, or you don't have to use purchasing categories, it's optional. So, but in here you activate that option to say, yes, I want to do that. Then next, there's the purchasing currency that you select to do this analysis. You go to purchasing, then procurement analytics. You select set up analytical reporting currencies. You can set up 2 currencies. In this case, only US dollar was selected. Then next, we want to look at the number ranges that we need to make this work. So you go to materials management, you go to supplier and category management, purchasing categories, and define number ranges for purchasing categories. So that's where you set up your actual purchasing category number ranges. It's fairly straightforward, just a number range 01 and then the from and to numbers. Then there's something very important that you have to know. There's a table that needs to be populated. The table name is SEWS_var_score. That's basically supplier evaluation scores that for the criteria that have to be populated. So once you've done your configuration and your number ranges, you run this. You have to populate the values in this table, and you go to SE38 and you run this program mm_PUR_SEWS_var_score update, and you just execute, and then this table will be populated. You can see I've done it previously. There's a number of records in that table. So if you go back to Fiori, the moment you do that, these apps, the actual ones that measures the supplier evaluation, is populated. Prior to that, there will be nothing available. But the moment you run that job, the data will appear in these apps, and you can start your analysis. Then lastly, I want to share with you the actual apps that you need and the roles. We've gone through most of these, you've seen these. I just wanted to summarize it. What we have here is the app name, parts per million, managing purchasing categories, and the evaluation apps. There's the app IDs, which you can find on the Fiori app library. Very important. I'll put a link of the Fiori app library and how you access that. It will give you all the details of these apps, and these are linked to this specific role. So the moment you give yourself or somebody access to this role, these apps will be available and you can play with it, like in this case. That's it for this video about configuration. I really hope there was some value in this, and then see you again.